Okay, people, welcome back to another Tub Tales. Woo! I can't do that. Somebody also suggested Robo Dub Dub. Come look at the toys in my tub. But I'll probably stick with Tales from the Tubs. Yes, I moved this up to the front of the building because, as I predicted, the back has become cluttered. I've had to set up for other videos. I've had to use it for storage, which is what it's meant to be. And it's a pain in the ass to move back around. I had this area set up for the Hasbro HasLab His Tank, and I thought, you know what? It works for this type video too. Here's my tub. Come take a look. I don't know if I'm gonna find the arms for this Dr. Octopus. The colors sure are nice on it, huh? It's a unique body shape. He's still got pecs, but he's also got kind of a gut with some abs still on top of that. Oh, Doc Ock, you're sexy. Don't let anybody tell you any different. And I always liked that there were actually eyes sculpted under the sunglasses or the goggles or whatever they're supposed to be. In fact, if it wasn't for the signature ball hips, it would have great proportions. I mean, just the overall body shape feels like Doc Ock. And don't tell anybody, but I think that head sculpt's better than the one we're currently rocking. For a second, I thought, oh, I found the tentacle, but nope. It's actually the old Omega Red, missing one of his tentacles. This one's still there, and it's nice and bendy and rubbery and can wrap around and stretch out and coil around. You want to talk about lanky? This guy is lanky. Just the length of the arms, the length of the legs, the thinness of the torso, and then you're going to get sick of me harping on these at some point, but the hips. Dear Lord. The hips. Because otherwise, the details are super nice. The head sculpt is good. The hair has that old kind of action-y type. We got to get it up out of the way in order for articulation to actually work for it. But it's got its own style. It actually works for what it is. Big old chunky shoulder pads with the straps coming down around the belt. And then the detail work down around the knees and the legs. It's actually got some sculpt on the inside, like it's armor pieces. This is cool. This is a little itty-bitty piece of history, but in the long run, I'm glad to have the Hasbro one because it's just nicer all the way around. This deserves to be in the tub, but that's not a bad thing. I'm not calling that, oh, into the tub because, ooh, you're so terrible. I don't mind having it. I don't mind looking back and going, whoa, I remember this. That's cool. Okay, what else is in the tub? Oh. Captain Britain. Oh man, this should have been great. This should have been good, but it wasn't. It was just small. It was thin. Brian Braddock should be larger than Black Panther. It shouldn't have arms coming out of the middle of the rib cage. It shouldn't have this texture on it. There's just a whole lot of shouldn'ts when it comes to this figure. And I'm not saying the Hasbro one's perfect. In fact, I can point out all the flaws with it too, but it's way less flaws than this. You know what I mean? This is just wrong on so many levels. The Hasbro one, it gets to a certain point and then you're just nitpicking, like body shape depending on artist and things like that. Looking at the rest of this tub here, it's gonna be a lot of, well, Hasbro just did it better, which I know not everyone agrees with. Take this Human Torch. It's movie, yes, but it's hard to tell that it's movie. In fact, it's a damn fine Human Torch with all these flames wrapped around them and everything. Well, you just saw that, didn't you? I thought that was a bubble or something melted for a second. I forgot that, well, should have been plain to see that there's a battery under this screw. So that's the button for the light up feature in the head. That still works after all these years. Oh. The top of the head, it looks more like hair in the shape of fire, which I get. It could be, but it's a little too in that direction. And then, once again, everybody say it with me, oh my God, look at those ball hips. I can't help it, okay? I can't help it. But that's damn nifty. Look at that. How about this? Does this even deserve to be mentioned? It does, because it has its place. It's just one step closer to better figures. But in the grand scheme of things, pretty damn terrible. Well, there is sculpted on costume details, that's something, but you put this next to other Marvel Legends, and man, what happened to you, Scott? You're so thin, and not thin like they say in the comics, where they call them slim. No, this is tiny. This is small. What else we got going on? Oh, how about this? A custom that's been in the bin for a long, long time. This is the Exiles Magnus. Ooh, just look at that fade from yellow to orange. That's pretty, if I do say so myself. Well, okay, it was painted orange, and then I took some yellow spray and just sprayed down without the head on. And that's it. It's simple, but kind of effective. Too bad it's been in the tub for years and years. There's scratches and scraping, and here where it wasn't fully back when it was painted. The back of the head wasn't even sculpted all the way or painted. I can feel you judging me through the camera right now. Sometimes you just need the front, right? You're gonna put it on a shelf. You're only ever gonna look at it from here. And when I do customs, I'm never gonna move them again. So I do it in a pose that's gonna be display worthy, painted up. I'm already taking forever to finish anything. So taking out some steps that I'm not going to utilize, it only makes sense, you know, for me. Oh, I forgot about Impossible Man. I think he's going to stay outside the tub. He's going to go back into the display. He's going to get his leg turned around the right way. It's not a bad sculpt at all. The articulation is very, very lacking, but this was a pack-in. What do you expect? But the other thing is, we don't have another one, do we? Has there been another Impossible Man? I don't think so. So, you take all that, you weigh it, and you go, okay, you're going back on the shelf. That color's very, very nice, too. That yellow with the green highlights, or lowlights, or shading, something. It's pretty. What can I say? Here's another that'll probably stay in the tub, like the majority of these anyway, but the old Kingpin. At the time, it was like, hell yeah, look at that! We are getting a character that's not just a big, muscle-bound villain type. He's got a gut. He's got a shape. Don't get me wrong. He's still buff. He's still imposing, but it was still Kingpin. And nothing wrong with that, but once again, like I've said more than a few times, it's getting monotonous, isn't it? He's gonna do a Tales from the Tubs, and then he's just gonna talk about ball hips and how much he likes Hasbro better. Hasbro wouldn't be where they are without the groundwork being laid down, you know, by Toy Biz, by early Hasbro. If they didn't make those mistakes, we wouldn't be getting what we get these days. That's how things work. You gotta practice, 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 and then you finally, hopefully, succeed. I mean, they're still going through changes. They're still going through innovations, you know? There's still things we see to this day that's like, they should have been doing that all along. Why haven't they been doing that all along? Because they hadn't tried it. And now they're trying it. Here's a new one. Well, maybe not a new one. Did I say this in a past Tales from the Tubs? Articulated fingers. Sometimes it's just unnecessary. I mean, this was formed to be a fist. He's just doing this to this. This is not an open hand. That's just an open fist. Might as well be the fist. And then the other one is a grip, which is okay. There ain't no way I'm finding his cane or whatever accessory he had. At the same time, as we've seen with the Jazzwares Fortnite stuff, where they brought back the articulated fingers, you put something in there and it's not the tightest grip. It can become loose. It can drop things. I want a grip. I want to put something in that hand. I want it to stay there. Sometimes that just felt like padding the articulation count. Hey, there's an extra one. It's pretty damn useless, but we gotta count it. It's a joint. This one was hard to beat, but it was also easy to beat at the same time. You know what I mean? Nightcrawler had a bunch of articulation, but then you go back, rose-colored glasses and all that. This joint didn't really do a whole hell of a lot but twist, and then the hinge in the mid-torso, it just gave you that much. It's not like he was crouching all the way down. But the big thing to a lot of people was the head, especially the chin. Just didn't feel like Nightcrawler. Check out the profile. That's the biggie right there. Just too much chin. Still a nice figure though. Still deserves its place in the pantheon of Marvel Legends, but stays in the tub. Here's another Doc Samson head. I can't tell you. In fact, I'm probably embarrassed to admit, even if I knew the numbers, but I've got a few Doc Samsons. Again, with the judgment. Oh, stop. I can feel it. Guardian, Vindicator, Alpha Flight. The thing about this, I love the colors used. This kind of metallic red, kind of a lighter shade, and then the white with the blue highlights. In that aspect, it's not bad, right? You can definitely tell that this is Hudson. What was his name? Something like that. But then you look at the actual figure, the proportions. No! Tiny, tiny head. Bigger hands. It's got this flight hand that, again, you have this articulation point, but why? You're not closing. You're not gripping anything. It's meant to be just that. Oh, how about this just thrown in a tub? Was this a variant of the Thor Buster Iron Man? But god dang does this thing look good, especially this head sculpt. More than that, it's the darker colors. That gunmetal black, well, it's not but gunmetal. It's black plastic with a nice silver dry brush all over it. Almost to the point that it's dirty. That's not showing up in the camera, is it? Go to the spinner. It almost looks dirty, but then it's easy to trick your brain into thinking it's metal. That's not a plastic action figure. That's made out of die cast or something. But it's not. Would I do this? With just a few hints of blue poking out. That looks really, really good. Oh, okay. It's in the eyes too. Kind of hard to tell, but it's there. The hips aren't quite as prominent as a lot of those older figures. And even the ankles, because of the thickness coming down to here, there's still a thinness there. And it's still duck-like here, and then you have the toe joints. Overall, not bad. Pretty good proportions for the most part. It's not beating the... I actually used the Diamond Select Marvel Select Destroyer in my display because I'm completely happy with that. I took apart a couple pieces, like the head, the neck, the mid-torso, ground out some plastic so it would get more movement. And I love it. I like it so much that I didn't even pick up the Hasbro Marvel Legends version. And I found that on clearance. That tells you something. How about this? There's another Nightcrawler that isn't quite as discolored. How many of these do I have? I think there's another one somewhere because I know I tried fixing that chin. Sanding it down, repainting, but both of these have those chins. So that's still floating around somewhere. Oh, okay. Since we started with Doc Ock, let's end with Doc Ock. I do not remember what this version is or where it came from, what series, but it's not a bad looking Octavius. He's got a style to him, you know? He's got that head with the little itty bitty glasses and then the green bodysuit. Gauntlets are armored, the boots, the belt. There's no holes in the back for tentacles. Am I missing something? I'm gonna get to the bottom of this. I can already see several things that are, okay, not that, not that. Yeah, we're gonna have to keep digging, which will be in part 4. One more thing. I did just see this. Herby. Remember when the Human Torch was deemed too dangerous to put on kids' cartoons? They were afraid kids were gonna set themselves on fire trying to emulate the Human Torch. That's where we got Herby, I believe. Maybe I'm just spreading lies. I don't know. That's the story I remember, though. But this brings me to this. And I'm gonna open this someday. Because I like Herby. Ain't nothing wrong with a little robot sidekick type thing. We're gonna continue this on in the next episode. And then the next episode, because after I do these, I've got the DC Universe Classics back there, I think. Those are more sorted, but I want to go through and look and see how they hold up to these days figures, you know? Because they are 6-inch, and they do look good all next to each other, kind of a who's who on the shelf. I like going up to Veeb's house and seeing his, because they're all out. Mine are all in tubs. I need to visit them someday. That's the nice thing about this. Just reminiscing. We'll get to that again. Come back for episode 4. We'll do some more tub diving.